Miss, please the share screen done. Halo, Miss Trias. Halo. Masih mute, Mbak Trias, silakan di unmute dulu mikrofonnya. Halo, Mbak Trias. Nge-lag kayaknya dari sana ya. Sepertinya agak tersendat ya. Bentar. Halo, Mbak Trias. Oke, ganti presenter, Po. Ganti dulu ya. Oh, Mbak Trias. Waduh. Oke, Mbak Trias sepertinya terputus ya dengan kita. We will continue with the next speaker. Ready with us. And the next, Amir William Andal, Astrida Fitri Nuryani, and Mondri. You are ready with us?
Okay, hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Time is yours.
Okay. How about my presentation from the committee? Okay.
Right. Okay, please.
Wait. Okay. Can I start my presentation?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning. What? Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Amir William Andal, and I'm from Brawijaya University, undergraduate sociology student. And today, I'm gonna present my presentation about my research with Mrs. Astrida and Mr. Monty about patterns of interaction in the family during the COVID-19 pandemic. Maybe can next slide. Okay, first of all, I believe everyone in this room get the impact of the COVID-19, whereas the existence of the COVID-19 pandemic has bring many impact to our life. And this statement is approved by research results from dawn to end 2020 with the title of Effect of COVID-19 on Business and Research show that several countries have had to experience an economic recession due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only that, I believe that almost every day we can see news about the wider spread of COVID-19, maybe from mass media like television, radio, newspaper, and social media. In the process of preventing of COVID-19, Indonesia itself had issued first policy, starting from the implementation of health protocol, and at the beginning in 2020, we know that SBB, and in 2021, we called it PPKM and many other policies. This policy ultimately make mobility not run smoothly and divert various sector of our life into home, ranging from economy, education, through social and cultural, such as you work before the pandemic COVID-19, you work at office, but now you work from home, you study at home with your Zoom or Google Meet. This policy make the function of the state and the market is taken over by the family, and the family has a significant role to play in overcoming the crisis in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic. And this statement is approved by a study from Abu Bakar and Alia and U 2020 with title of the function family during COVID-19 pandemic. This study among students of anthropology UGM. This statement is also supported by an article from Susilowati E 2020 with the title Optimalisasi Peran Perempuan sebagai Strategi Alternatif Kebijakan Publik dalam Menekan Penyebaran Pandemi COVID-19. Regarding the importance of the role of the family during pandemic COVID-19, this study used family as the unit of analysis to see how we have in responding to issue or discourse about pandemic COVID-19. This study is focusing about patterns of information from family to see how family perspective about COVID-19 can form how families see the discourse about pandemic COVID-19. I believe this study is important seeing the data from CNELI-M 2020 with the title The COVID-19 Social Media Infodemic that showed the spread of information about the COVID-19 pandemic on social media always increased time by the time. Dissemination of information on social media is followed by a series of fake news, or we call that hoax, which can affect the perception of collective behavior of the community towards the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic. This research have many benefits obtained from this research is first, to develop knowledge about social media study, family, and coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic in general, and specifically can develop knowledge about the use of social media in the family in viewing the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, the result of this study can be used for future researchers too. The result of this study will be able to provide an overview of the pattern of family interaction in use of social media is a source of information about the COVID-19 pandemic that can shape perspective and behavior within the family to the government as a consideration in formulating a policy. With the similarities and difference, maybe you can, next slide. With the similar, to help this research, I as a researcher use 5 previous study with the title that you can see on the screen, Budaya Media Sosial, Edukasi Masyarakat dan Pandemi COVID-19 from Sapurno DKK 2020. And I use the second preview study, Pola Komunikasi Remaja Generasi Z di Masa Pandemi COVID-19 from Agustina L 2020. And the third study is Proses Interaksi Sosial di Tengah Pandemi Virus COVID-19 by Harhab S 2020. And the fourth is Analisis Peran Orang Tua dalam Mendampingi Anak di Masa Pandemi COVID-19 from Kurniati DKK 2021. And the last preview study is Manajemen Komunikasi Keluarga saat Pandemi COVID-19 from Kuswanti DKK 2021. With the similarities and difference from 5 previous study, researchers hope that new research can help in explaining how the process of social interaction in the family, especially the patterns of social interaction in the family in utilizing social media to obtain information about the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only that, previous research also strengthens the originality, and this research have never been before. Except the 5 previous study, research use one theory from Won and Bao, that crystallization theory, where the term of crystallization is distinguished the process of forming reality not from top-down proposition like old mass media theory like agenda setting, but the term crystallization in analogous to the crystallization process in chemistry, where the physical process of crystallization from a chemical perspective showed that change in matter from a gas or liquid state can change to a solid state. Crystallization begin with a nucleus, and particle begin to stick to a nucleus and continue to grow into larger and matter than we call a crystal. This physical crystallization process is theoretical framework of crystallization in the process of forming social reality. This theory have a role to help researchers to analyze empirical data that we found in the file, and we manage by using 7 assumptions from crystallization theory, like the first, where individuals will be exposed to information that comes from many sorts, such as including face-to-face interaction, old mass media, and online social network. The second assume is an individual access to information will be determined by his or her communication pattern toward information source. And the third is the individual assessment of the importance of information will be a function of the quantity of the source and the relationship of the individual to the source of the information. Fourth is the individual attitude towards the information will be influenced by the attitude of the person who has a relationship with the individual towards the information. And fifth is, over time, individuals will develop their subjective reality based on the information they know, and their relative from will crystallize in cluster. And the last is the crystallization process will be get according to the attributes of the individual social networks and the attribute of the individual himself. And you can go to the next slide. This study used a qualitative type with a case study approach Robert Kain 2014 with 3 technical to collect data, in-depth interview, and observation and study literature. This research was 2020 to 2021 using a qualitative type with a case study process from Robert Kain, and use case study approach in the research is considered relevant to answer the core problems that have been formulated. This refers to the argument Robert Kain, where the case study approach is suitable to answer the how question. To obtain the desired data in accordance with the problems in the research, we use 3 techniques: in-depth interview by Zoom meeting and WhatsApp call, and we do some observation from social media, but we not do observation physically or secara langsung. And the third method to collect data, we use literature study. In looking the, maybe you can next. In looking at the patterns of interaction in a family, the research finds several factors that influence the perspective and also the way a family acts. After research conduct research using data collection technique in the form of interview, observation, and documentation study with the family as the unit of analysis, it could be seen at least 3 things that happen in determining interaction patterns, influencing the family perspective in making decision regarding to the COVID-19 pandemic discourse. That 3 things are: first, you can see on the screen is source of information and family type and discussion of division of labor. In addition to the difference in generation, you can see that in source of information, there is several factors again that can make the source of information. First is generation difference, family background, content variation, and then social network. In addition to the difference in generation within the family, the second factor that influences the selection of the type of media used in the background of the member of its family itself. And in this case, research with different background will focus on difference in work and education. Difference in work background can affect choice of media to consume information, such as informant from family type A, who has a job that is required to meet many people. So the main media that he used is newspaper. This is because the development of information from newspaper is not too fast, so that it can maintain emotionally stable by our informant. Difference from the second family that we see, who work in the service like PNS, and he is required to conduct an assessment of the coronavirus pandemic COVID-19. So the media that he used to consume data, so many, such as social media and many things else. And the second assume from family background is we can see family from two casts is from Pola Asuh and from Pola Asuh and from the what in English for I forget the English from Pola Asuh.
Nurturing pattern.
Yes, nurturing pattern that family type is the family is democration or not. It's effect from the media information choice. Next is content variation. Variation is about how the media deliver a content. Like old mass media, television in the beginning of pandemic COVID-19 bring so many same information. So the family that consume this information have equilibrium titik kejenuhan that they move to social media to get a new information and variation content. And the last from source of information is social network, where the family have their own social network, like parents have their own social network from WhatsApp group, and the children have their social media network from Twitter, Instagram, and many things else. The second is family type from structural and parenting, where structural means like what type of this family. If this family is the type of democratis, so the pattern of interaction between member of family will be able or lancar untuk terjadi. And the last is division of labor, is how is the division of labor in the family during pandemic COVID-19, such as father have a role to find money to fulfill their need about economy, and mother have their role too to protect her son from coronavirus COVID-19. Next. Okay, the conclusion of this study is the pattern of interaction in the family have a role to forming perspective and action in viewing an issue or discourse, including the discourse about pandemic COVID-19. It is not only limited to perspective, but patterns of interaction that happen in family continuously can create a new social regulation, specifically in this study, called regulation in a family. This study shows that the interaction process that occurs between family member is influenced by at least three things. First of all, the source of information, the type of family, the division of labor in the family. Next. Okay, maybe that's all about my presentation today. I would like to say thank you for all participants, and sorry if before I forget about some English statement. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Amir William Andal. It's okay, we can bilingual language in this session. For giving us such informative and interesting presentation about pattern of interaction on the family during the COVID-19. My suggestion is that you can write the full paper in English, right? Because the full paper we receive is still in Bahasa, so you can translate in English if you want. We will just continue to discuss of the substance of the paper in the Q&A session. We will review more intense by our reviewers. Okay, the next paper is talking about who next? Mr. Trias, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Ya.
Sudah oke semuanya untuk presentasi?
Ya, mungkin bisa dibantu panitia ya.
Oh ya. Panitia bisa udah. Yang Mbak Trias dulu kok. Oke. Committee is ready. is talking about sexual satisfaction in individual with marriage age below 10 years during the COVID-19 by Miss Trias Novita Elsa Daina. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Maybe next, because I have introduced myself before. And this is our topic in this morning. I will explain about the background of research, methodologies that I use, and the discussing about sexual satisfaction, also the conclusion. Next. So my research comes from this question. How is sexual satisfaction during pandemic COVID-19? Next. As we know that this pandemic brings some changes in every single aspect in our life, include marriage life. But not only that, several other studies have also found that COVID-19 and lockdowns affect people's sexuality. Namely, Turkey, Italy, India, and the United States in 2020, all of which showed that there was a decrease in sexual desire and activity, both with partners and alone, which was directly caused by the lockdown. This is because so many people are too stressed. Lockdown policies implemented by the governments of each country create an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. Then it gives rise to an unprecedented amount of health-related anxiety, financial insecurity, and other significant changes. Stress caused by several factors as well as couples spending time together in a confined space contribute to significantly lowering the sex life of partners. Different or even the same thing could happen in Indonesia regarding the impact of COVID-19 on people's sexual lives, especially those who are married with a marriage age of under 10 years. Under normal conditions, for new married couples, the first years are still a time to make adjustment, a time to hold a deeper orientation from each part. Because of that, new partners often appear jealous, worry, and lack trust, which sometimes doesn't need to exist. There are a lot of crises in certain years in marriage. The first crisis appears after 3 years of marriage, then appears in the 5th, 10, 15, 20 to 25 years. Level of enjoyment and satisfaction in sex life can be used as a barometer of the relationship between husband and wife. Low sexual satisfaction can make marriage unstable and have low quality so that marital satisfaction can be disrupted. Based on the explanation, I want to know how the description of sexual satisfaction in individuals with marriage age under 10 years during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in Indonesia. Next. And in this research, I use quantitative research with random probability sampling. The instrument I use is a new sexual satisfaction scale with coefficient reliability value is 0.9075. And for the aspect that measure are individual aspect, interpersonal aspect, and behavioral aspect. Of the total 78 questionnaires filled out by respondents. Now, all of them were Vater's process. After sorting, obtained 63 participant questionnaires that can be processed. Male respondent among 29 subjects and with 46.03%, while female subject amount to 34 subjects with a percentage of 53.97%. For the analysis, I use descriptive statistic analysis. Next. Now we're going to the discussion passion and result. What about sexual satisfaction in Indonesia during this pandemic? We found that in general, mean of sexual satisfaction score is 72.78. It means satisfied. And there is 47.59% respondents that they are satisfied, and 31.75% that they are very satisfied. And how about sexual satisfaction in gender? We found that mean of sexual satisfaction score from male is 74.69 and the female is 71.15. According to this number, we know that male have higher sexual satisfaction than female. Now we see about marriage age. Individual who has been married under 3 years have sexual satisfaction score in 73.95. It means satisfied. And 3 until 5 years have score in 66.57, and 5 until 10 years have score in 72.65. Next. Based on the data, how come people can have sexual satisfaction in this pandemic? And it turns out it because some factors that may affect it. First, demographic factor. Second, physical health. Third, financial well-being. And fourth, emotional satisfaction. Next. For demographic factor, there are 4 parts. First, in gender. Why gender? Because from the data, we know that male have sexual satisfaction higher than female. This is because as women get older, sexual activity will be affected by the emergence of new tasks, such as work, taking care of children, and other responsibilities in the family and community. This can cause sexual satisfaction and the partner is forgotten. This shows that the pandemic and lockdowns have more affected women in their sexual life. According to Emilia Jamea, a sex therapist in Texas, the pandemic has become difficult for many women because they have to put aside their careers during this pandemic to do household tasks ranging from cooking, washing clothes, raising children, to the demands of school from home to they fall them indirectly. Second one is age marriage. Increasing the age of marriage is associated with decrease in the frequency of sexual intercourse. If a woman already has children of elementary school age, she will enjoy her role as a mother and wife even more. So that they are not to focus on paying attention to their sexual needs and their partners. The age marriage is also something that can support sexual satisfaction. Married age is an important factor in identifying sexual satisfaction. And based on data that we found that a total of 39 respondents have a married age that is still under 3 years, and as many as 47.76% of respondents only have 1 child. This makes the respondents still have enough time to pay attention to their children and their sexual life with their partners, even as many as 25.37% of respondents still do not have children. This allows the respondents to achieve the satisfaction of sexual needs. Next, about physical health and enjoyment. The age of the respondent in a productive age, where the age of 25 until 39 years, still has physical strength and body vitality that is fit. Respondents who are not exposed to COVID-19 and manage to survive from COVID-19 also support the level of sexual satisfaction they feel. Physical performance and overall good health indicated higher levels of sexual satisfaction. In addition to general physical condition, sexual function can also affect sexual satisfaction. These sexual function include the individual's ability to orgasm, erection, and lubrication. Next, about financial well-being. Okay, based on the data in this study, 52 respondents still have jobs even during the COVID-19 pandemic. This happened because in Indonesia, there was no lockdown. The policy taken by the government by imposing PPKM or restriction on community activities at various levels in each city or regency make people still have a life expectancy, can survive by having jobs and earn modest income. Even though in Indonesia is in the second wave of the pandemic, policies that encourage more people to take 2 doses of vaccination have proven to reduce public anxiety about contracting the virus. Business can also reopen and some workers return to the office with strict health protocols in place. This allows people to start returning to their old routines. Returning to normalcy is a good indicator for couples whose struggles began during the pandemic. It is possible that some couples, once the pandemic is under control, will return to their former state. This is because their stressors have now been removed and people's sex life will improve. Next, emotional satisfaction. Several studies have shown a positive relationship between sexual satisfaction and closeness or relationship quality. And in this research show that women have a good sexual satisfaction because they feel closeness with their partner. Women have a great interpersonal aspect. Women who are active and satisfied with their sexual relationship show emotional satisfaction, high and consistent relationship satisfaction, life satisfaction, and psychological well-being. Also, assertiveness in sexual relations and effective communication are associated with more effective sexual satisfaction. Assertiveness in sexual relationship and effective communication can make partner more aware of sexual behavior that their partner like and dislike, so that they can achieve higher sexual satisfaction. Quality of sexual relation has a strong influence on the happiness of couples. Next. So for the closing statement from me is individuals who are married under 10 years have sexual satisfaction during pandemic COVID-19 in Indonesia. It can be like that because there are some factors affect it, such as demographic factor, enjoyment and physical health, financial well-being, and emotional satisfaction. Also, men have higher sexual satisfaction score than women, but women are more able to feel sexual satisfaction when aspects of emotional connection or closeness and sexual equality are met. That's enough from me, and I thank you for all of you that hear me. Thank you, and for the committee, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Rias Elsa Daina. that was interesting topic and presentation to know about sexual satisfaction in Indonesia. And the paper has, I think the paper has been complete editorially, so we will continue to discuss of the substance of the paper in the Q&A session. Okay, now let's invite our third presenter who will discuss about family perspective on COVID-19 in middle 2021. The paper has 3 authors, Miss Halida Zainan Fahira, Astrida Fitri Nuryani, and Mondri. Ready with us?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Time is
Okay.
yours.
Thank you. Can you call me help me with the presentation? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Good morning, our speakers, moderator, and also audience. Thank you for having us to presenting our research about the family perspective of COVID-19 in mid-2021, especially in Depok City, West Java. But before we get started to the presentation, let me introduce our team members. It's me as Halida Zainan Fahira, and these are my awesome colleagues, Mrs. Astrida Fitri Nuryani and also Mr. Mondri. And we are from Brawijaya University. Okay, next. Okay. As we all know, COVID-19 first founded in Wuhan, China at the end of 2019. And until today, actually, this phenomenon is still a crucial topic to discuss about. COVID-19 transmitted to Indonesia on March 2020 when a mother and her daughter met a foreign, which was in Depok City. So Depok City is the first city affected by COVID-19, and with the rapid mobilization, the society have to be more aware with the virus. During this pandemic, we all know that most of the activities we do it from home, such as work from home and also study from home. Therefore, there are more spare time for the family members interact to each other, help to grow the same mindset and also the same definition of COVID-19, so they could protect and prevent themselves from the virus. But in this case, in Depok City, most of the positive cases are caused by family cluster. Thus, this article is going to discuss about family perspective of COVID-19, especially in mid-2021. Next. Okay. On this research, we use two literatures, as you can see on the screen. And both of the literatures were discussed about the situation from the virus, showing that the society got a medium level of panic and gave a picture how important parent is in a family. In our article, we will discuss not only about the situation when the pandemic and not only talk about the function of the parent, but also we are noted the siblings relation or subsystem during this pandemic. Okay, and the methods. This research have been started since March to August 2021 with qualitative and case study approach. The reason why we use qualitative and case study is because we want to know it more deeply about COVID-19 in the family. And moreover, this phenomenon is a contemporary issue, so the researcher only have a slight time to control it. In collecting data, the researcher used observations, in-depth interview, and also documentation. And for observation, we do it like online and also offline. On online observation, we ask the informants to take a picture of their housing, and also we did several offline observation when the number of the COVID-19 decreased in Depok City. And we interviewed informants also in the several times in several dates. Thus, each of the informant can independently sharing with us the information about COVID-19 in their family without somebody's perspective in it. And for the documentation, we did like transcript and collecting pictures and also videos. And this research, because we want to know the situation, the COVID-19 in Depok City, so we focus in a nuclear family who lived in Depok. And also the information should be above 17 years old, because the one that already above the 17 years old already have a good stance to make a decision for themselves. Okay, next. Okay, for the discussion, we will discuss several concepts. Okay, this is from Allen and Henderson. Okay, about the family relation between every subsystem in the family. There are 3 subsystems in the family, like marital, parental, and also sibling subsystem. And with this, marital is a dyadic relation between spouses. In the case of the research, usually the wife trying to discuss about the information, like she will gonna ask the validity of the information that she got from the WhatsApp group to her husband. Therefore, they could grow the same mindset of COVID-19 and can explain to their children on the parental subsystem. And on this parental subsystem, the parent, especially the father, think that we have to adapt and also live with the virus, but still we have to obey the health protocol to prevent the virus. And at the same time, their children also access the information of COVID-19 through some platforms such as Instagram, Kompas.com, Tempo.com, and Tirto.id. But all of the informants admitted that if they are barely to access information about the pandemic, especially in this 2021. Thus, the discussion between the parents and also the children nowadays is more into like remind each other about the health protocol. And on the sibling subsystem, same as the previous explanation, the relation between the oldest and the youngest sister is more into remind each other about the health protocol, especially the oldest to the youngest. But the oldest also say that she's worried to her sister because since this pandemic, she's busying herself with the gadget more than she's playing around with her friends. Okay, and for the mutual influence happened by internal and also external factors. Internal factor is the will from every members to access information to protect themselves and the other members. And in this research, every members have their own will to access the information, even though the media that they had access are different. Like the father and the oldest children chose to gain information from incredible sources as like Kompas TV, Tempo.com, and also Tirto.id. Meanwhile, the mother chose to access from the TV and also WhatsApp group. Okay, but as the time goes by, again, the intensity of them to reach and also watch the COVID-19 had decreased. And for the external factor is the push factor to access the information about COVID-19. There are some reasons for informant access it. The first one is because there are not a few people who are affected by the virus in their housing and also workplace environment due to the neglectful of the health protocol. And also they have the responsibility to being a health activist and also their job and also as the student. being a health activist, the father should give some explanation to the society how dangerous COVID-19 is. And also, not only that, he should take care every neighbor who affected the COVID-19 to the hospital. Okay, and this was also work, especially the husband that have to work outside the city because he is an audit. Hence, it made him to aware about the virus more than the others. Every time he arrived at home, he decided to wash his clothes by himself. Okay, next. For the hierarchy, well, most of the people think is if the boys in the family will have a higher hierarchy in the family, but in this family, all of the members can give their opinion freely without the fear of being judged. Hence, they always put discussion before action, which is means the family hierarchy is democracy. And also for the boundaries will show us that is the family open or not to the COVID-19. And at this point, the family can adapt it well enough, and we can see it from the will of them to access the COVID-19 information and how the members like to remind each other about the health protocol. And they also made a written rule that become a habit. Like they are washing and showering after when they arrive at home, and wash their hands, their clothes by themselves, and also wearing masks and bring hand sanitizer every time they are going out. And the family is also already understand if there is someone in the family exposed by COVID-19, they have to do self-isolation. Thus, all of the family members are open to the changes in this pandemic. And also for the feedback, there are two feedback in the family, like the positive and negative feedback, but whether it which is dominated, it depends on how their reaction after they got the information about COVID-19. Will they discuss it and make a decision together, or they just keep silent, or and that become their solution? And in this family, even though the intensity of the access information is decreased, but every time they are in a problem, like when the father and the oldest children are exposed by COVID-19, they like to discuss about should they go to the hospital or just self-isolation at home. And also they also remind each other of health protocol. And therefore, the feedback in this family is a positive feedback. Next. Okay. For the equilibrium, at this point, member should try to equalize between the positive and the negative feedback they that got in the family to attain the harmonious. Okay. Like when the father affected by the virus, the rest of the family want to swap to check the condition, but the youngest is refused to do it because at that time she didn't feel well, so she is afraid that she might be also exposed by the virus. And after mother and the oldest discussed and persuade the youngest to do the swap with them, but the youngest still didn't want to. They were agreed and deal with the decision that she made. And moreover, another equilibrium that we can find in this family is they got vaccine due to their own decision. Even though the mother and the youngest did it because due to health reason, like to minimize the symptoms if they got the exposed by COVID-19, But the oldest and the father did it because the regulation of the government made, which shows show the certificate of vaccine everywhere they want to go, and especially the father because he have to go to another city due to his job as an audit. And also for the family cohesion, with the fact that the member will think about the risks before they do something or going out, and they always try to discuss anything about COVID-19 together. Thus, the family cohesion is in this family is an enmeshment, which they will think about the others first before themselves. Okay, next. So the conclusion of this research is every member of the family have the will to access the information about COVID, even their children, through some medias like TV and Kompas.com, Tempo.com, Tirto.id, Instagram, YouTube, and also WhatsApp group. And all of the subsystems are connected and influence each other. So they can protect and prevent with the unwritten rules. And when there are somebody that exposed by the COVID-19 in the family, they will give a material and moral support. And not only parents who take part to protecting the family members, but children can take part it by reminding the others of health protocol. Okay, next. Okay, thank you for all your attention. I'm sorry for my poor English. Okay, thank you. Back to the moderator.
Okay, that was a great explanation, Miss. Apa lagi nih? Siapa? Miss Halidah Zainan Fahira, right? Talking about family relation and give us information about all of the substances are connected and influence each other in family relation. Okay, now let's invite our next presenter. We will discuss about standarisasi kecantikan perempuan generasi milenial dalam lingkaran skincare, written by Siti Mariam and Ahmad Zahid. Sudah bersama kita? Sudah? Oh, sorry. Oh, di sini. Oke. Time is your. Iya. Tadi harusnya di sini sih, tapi. Hah? Apa mau maju? Yuk.
Maju aja ya ke stage.
Ya, maju aja di sini. Soalnya kita nggak tahu kalau udah di sini tadi. Ya, silakan di sini. Kan ini udah di-share sama tim ya.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Siti Mariam dari UIN 1 Tulungagung semester 5 dan partner saya Azahid. Standar Ya, terima kasih. Standarisasi kecantikan perempuan generasi milenial dalam lingkaran skincare. Oke, selanjutnya. Nah, bagaimana sih standarisasi kecantikan perempuan di Indonesia? Nah, di sini paper saya akan menjelaskan standarisasi kecantikan perempuan di Indonesia dari era per era, terus dikaitkan dengan skincare. Selanjutnya. Oke. Standarisasi kecantikan di Indonesia. Poin pertama, bahwa standarisasi kecantikan di Indonesia ini merupakan konstruksi yang dibawa pada perkelana fisik, objek sebagai perempuan, bagaimana perempuan dapat dikaitkan cantik apabila berkulit putih, memiliki hidung mancung, terus memiliki dengan ciri-ciri wanita Eropa. Nah, dari situ kurangnya edukasi masyarakat bagaimana sih mengenai standarisasi perempuan yang diamini oleh masyarakat Indonesia itu sendiri. Nah, terciptanya produk-produk kecantikan perempuan menjadi konstruksi pemaknaan cantik pada setiap persepsi. Selanjutnya, sosiohistori standarisasi kecantikan perempuan di Indonesia dari era 70 sampai 20-an. Bahwa di era 70-an ini merupakan masyarakat Indonesia masih menggunakan bahan herbal alami sebagai skincare. Nah, pada era ini produk kecantikan yang viral pada masa itu merupakan salah satunya dari Viva Cosmetic. Lanjut dari era 80-an, konsep kecantikan ini merupakan warna kulit kuning langsat karena didominasi oleh kaum masyarakat keraton yang identik dengan wanita warna kulit langsat sebagai wanita kulit pribumi biasa. Lanjut di era 90, produk kosmetik ini berkembang dengan konsep standarisasi wanita kulit putih yang identik dengan masyarakat Belanda, bahwa konsep mulai 90-an ini lebih kepada wanita yang berkulit putih. Lanjut di era 20-an, di era kontemporer ini memiliki inovasi lebih dari zaman 90-an, artinya perkembangan produk kecantikan di Indonesia mulai berkembang. Selanjutnya. Nah, pemaknakan perempuan sendiri. Ada persepsi dari pemaknakan perempuan. Dari KBBI, persepsi, dan realitas. Nah, persepsi ini bahwa wanita mengandung konotasi yang terhormat dan positif. Ini pada Orde Baru, namun dalam perkembangannya, sedangkan kata perempuan memiliki stigma yang sebaliknya. Jadi ini agak berbeda dengan yang di KBBI, bahwa di KBBI ia menjelaskan bahwa perempuan diidentifikasikan sebagai orang, manusia yang memiliki vagina, dapat menstruasi, hamil, melahirkan, dan menyusui. Sedangkan wanita didefinisikan sebagai perempuan dewasa, kaum putri. Nah, dari sini kalau di zaman Orde Baru, wanita ini lebih memiliki konotasi yang positif dibandingkan dengan kata perempuan. Nah, realitasnya perempuan bukanlah objek kapitalisme standar kecantikan, bahwa kecantikan perempuan dijadikan ajang kontestasi sebagai pada akhirnya mengarah pada komodifikasi atas tubuh perempuan yang semestinya menjadi otoritas mereka. Selanjutnya. Nah, ini propaganda warna kulit. Bahwa kulit putih, ada kulit kuning langsat dan gelap. Standarisasi kecantikan menjadi acuan zaman kolonial Belanda bahwa kulit putih sebagai representasi artis dari brand ambassador produk kecantikan. Bahwa kita ketahui kalau ada iklan di media sosial ataupun di media cetak dari zaman 70-an itu representasinya pastinya menggunakan wanita yang berkulit putih. Nah, kalau kuning langsat ini wanita yang memiliki kuning langsat menjadi wanita unggulan pada era 80-an yang ditandai oleh Keraton Surakarta dengan konsep kecantikan dengan warna kuning langsat. Kulit gelap, pada akhirnya kulit gelap menjadi tren masyarakat Barat bahwa Black is Beauty menjadi perkembangan dari bukunya yang berjudul Art Disco of the Plum Biscuit. Selanjutnya. Perempuan dalam lingkaran skincare. Nah, di skincare ini, skincare merupakan serangkaian perawatan tubuh yang memberikan efisiensi kegunaan. Perawatan tubuh menjadi komoditas untuk konsumen baik laki maupun perempuan. Di era ini, skincare merupakan menjadi hal pokok. Nah, skincare ini pun tidak digunakan untuk perempuan saja. Saat ini sudah mulai berkembang untuk laki-laki. Skincare pun tidak hanya perawatan tubuh, tapi perawatan kulit, perawatan rambut, perawatan lain-lainnya. Stigma. Stigma perempuan dalam lingkaran skincare ini ada seksisme, rasisme, dan kapitalisme. Bahwa perempuan atau laki-laki yang menggunakan skincare pastinya sedikit teman-teman atau orang lainnya yang menggunakan ataupun tidak menggunakan skincare akan mencakup dari ketiga stigma itu. Nah, pro kontra skincare. Pro kontra skincare ini dalam penggunaannya menjadi bumerang saat di tongkrongan dengan alibi guyonan bahwa merambat ke pembahasan seksisme dan stereotip terhadap penggunaan dan non-penggunaan skincare. Bahwa fenomena yang kita ketahui meskipun kita ngobrol di warung kopi, teman-teman pasti tidak asing lagi dengan percakapan mengenai skincare seperti, kamu kok lebih glowing, udah lama nggak ketemu. Nah, seperti itu. Padahal kan itu hak kita, itu otoritas kita, tubuh kita, otoritas kita. Oke, selanjutnya. Tubuh konsumtif dan kecantikan perempuan Indonesia. Tubuh bukanlah aset, tubuhku otoritasku. Tubuh perempuan digunakan sebagai penggerak gairah konsumen terhadap barang yang dijual dalam iklan-iklan. Tubuh perempuan menjanjikan bisnis yang besar di daerah kapitalisme. Bahwa seperti yang disebut tadi, tubuh kita adalah otoritas kita. Banyak iklan-iklan yang kita lihat di media sosial, di media cetak, kebanyakan merepresentasikannya itu dengan wanita yang memiliki standar kecantikan pada era 70-an, di era Belanda, Eropa, dan Jepang. Oke, standar kecantikan rambut pada perempuan memiliki peran penting yang menjadi lebih sempurna. Menjadi dialektika masyarakat ketika memahami bahwa memiliki jenis kulit rambut yang berminyak, kering, dan normal. Nah, standar kecantikan ini tidak hanya pada tubuh, namun merambak pada rambut, bahwa seperti yang kita ketahui, seperti yang dikonstruksi oleh masyarakat, tubuh kita adalah mahkota kita. Kecantikan perempuan di Indonesia era milenial ini dapat dilepas dari konstruksi era kolonial. Namun dengan perkembangannya, perempuan Indonesia tidak sedikit menemukan kecantikan sejati di Indonesia yang beragam dari ras. Bahwa kecantikan perempuan di Indonesia ini merupakan bagaimana sih kecantikan yang asli dari Indonesia tanpa ada embel-embel dari kolonial Belanda. Bahwa kecantikan perempuan di Indonesia ini adalah inner beauty. Kecantikan yang kita ciptakan sendiri untuk diri kita sendiri, bukan untuk orang lain. Selanjutnya, representasi standarisasi kecantikan. Nah, ini di sini saya tampilkan salah satu iklan. Perkembangan zaman pesat menjadi eksploitasi terhadap perempuan musnah begitu saja. Eksploitasi justru semakin meluas konteksnya menjelma pada bagian bentuk bahkan merusak pada hal-hal canggih seperti iklan. Sistem konstruksi standarisasi kecantikan dengan representasi sesuai dengan kultur barat. Kecantikan selalu digambarkan dengan warna kulit putih, tinggi, bergigi putih, harum, dan gambaran makna lainnya. Nah, munculan gambaran-gambaran iklan visual menggunakan artis barat. Wanita yang berasal dari budaya feminim menganggap dunia secara berbeda dari pria karena pengalaman aktivitas yang berbeda dengan yang terbakar dengan bagian pekerjaan. Jadi